Welcome everybody to Talking Elite, and boy, do we have a show for you guys tonight. We are now doing part 2 of our show on Breaking the Street. Tonight, we are talking about the next big thing. We are talking about the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. Thanks in the back of Zach. Always appreciate it. So tonight we are going to be discussing the Beast. We are talking everything from his UFC career all the way back to his OVW. So, man, he has had a crazy career. I personally was not a huge fan of him when I first saw him, just because he was beating John Cena. Because that was the time I came in and saw Brock Lesnar. So, and plus all the part-time stuff over the years, like I kind of had a bad taste in my mouth. So before we get jumping into our conversation and our whole episode on Brock tonight, let me introduce you to our panel. We have the Tiger King himself. All the way from Florida, we have the Bearded Wonder. We have Adam.
No longer in Florida. I'm in Tennessee again.
Oh, sorry. The Tennessee man. Sorry.
The Tennessee. You could call me like the Tennessee Beard Wonder.
There you go. The Tennessee Beard
Mid-South Beard.
Yes.
The Mid-South Beard.
The Mid-South Beard. There is his new nickname. Put that on a t-shirt. There you go. So thank you, Adam, so much for joining us tonight. I hope you were ready to talk Brock Lesnar.
Absolutely.
And then we have the most professional podcaster. He is the pro wrestling GOAT. We have Zach joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show, guys. It's always a pleasure. We have so much fun here, so I can't wait to see what we create tonight.
Oh, man, I am super stoked to have you on because between you, Adam, and Connor, you guys are probably some of the biggest wrestling minds that I know. So I am super excited to have you guys on tonight. And finally, we have everybody's favorite producer. He is the ringleader of the All Elite Zone podcast. He is the biggest CM Punk and Brian Cage mark. Probably not just on the show, but in real life, we have Connor. Connor, welcome to the show, buddy.
It's great to be on. This is a really good topic. I know last week we had really good part 1 to the series, and part 2 is going to be really interesting because Undertaker and Brock has two complete different careers. So it's going to be interesting to deep dive in Brock Lesnar's career. He's done a lot outside of wrestling.
Like, just looking at it, man, the man is just a freak of nature. Let's just put it out. He's a freak of nature.
He's once in a lifetime. You'll never see him the Brock Lesnar.
So, do you know this is pretty much a given, but do you know what sport Brock Lesnar became a beast and actually won a NCAA World Championship in?
That's wrestling.
Cricket, right?
Cricket, totally cricket. Yeah.
And
so,
do you guys know where he went to college?
Was it Minnesota?
Same school as?
No
Mr.
kidding.
Perfect.
Shelton Benjamin.
Oh, because Shelton Benjamin. That was the other thing too.
Yeah.
I found out Shelton Benjamin was one of his coaches in wrestling. Did you know that?
Yes, he was the assistant coach.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was like,
Wow.
Did you go to school with him and Shelton? I
Yeah,
was like, dang, Adam, you go everywhere. But yeah, so Shelton Benjamin was one of his coaches and was a huge part of him getting signed to OVW.
Yep. I remember, I think it was like a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, him and Shelton Benjamin did something on Raw together. Or maybe it was the Royal Rumble, I don't know. But a lot of the OVW guys, a lot of the the biggest names right now were from OVW. Brock, John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton,
Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, like that class right there. Just looking at the future Hall of Famers right there, and for the stables of what sports entertainment is, that is just crazy to think that.
And Brock Lesnar was in 3 different sports, wasn't he? Amateur wrestling,
and we'll talk about his football career here in just a second. We'll get to that a little bit midway through the show. Yeah. So, but yeah, Brock is just a dominant force because he basically did 3 different sports. So, kind of a spoiler for the show a little bit, but he was, of course, on the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
Not not even a whole season, not even a season. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Of course, he did the UFC fighting.
Yeah.
Everybody knows he does. He's done UFC, and to be honest with you, looking at it, I think his UFC character became the Beast Incarnate that we know him as now. Just crazy, little bit difference from his first WWE run to his current / recent, because he's still technically active, correct? He's still technically active on the WWE roster. Am I right?
Yeah. He's technically, I think, listed as part-time, but he's still active part-time.
Yeah. I know Ethan agrees. His UFC stuff was crazy. Yeah, don't worry, Ethan. We'll talk about that later. So I mean, it's gonna be like I said, his UFC career is awesome. So thank you guys so much for coming on. Make sure you guys leave your comments below as we go through his career. Because does Brock Lesnar have problem? He's probably one of the. I think he's almost the Undertaker level at this point. I think he's like the next phenom in professional wrestling, and then looking at it too. So as he was in his OVW career, he won tag gold twice with Shelton Benjamin. And I can't remember. Do you know if he had any other championships in OVW, or did he just win the tag titles? And then I know he got frustrated with being on there and then went up to the main roster.
I know he won the tag titles with Shelton, but to the extent of the frustration, he was feeling like he was ready for the main. I mean, just by his athletic ability in OVW. If you watch some of the old tapes, I mean, he was doing moves that for a big guy you would never even imagine doing. He was doing shooting star presses in OVW, which also led up to the infamous one at WrestleMania 19 against Kurt Angle. So, but no, he just was showing something that, I mean, for that class alone, with him, Randy, John, who was then known as the Prototype, Shelton and Batista, like they all showed promise that they were all just like, yeah, you guys are coming up now. We're just going to call you all up right now.
Pretty much. And then looking at it. So have you guys ever watched that Paul Heyman Inside the Ropes interview? Oh, Kitty run in. Do you guys ever see the Inside the Ropes interview with Paul Heyman about how, so he came up to do dark matches. I think he did some matches against Lance Storm, Spike Dudley, and there was a couple others before he made his actual debut. And they're sitting there in the ring. They wanted to make Brock Lesnar a Russian.
You mean like in Rocky?
Yo, seriously, like it's one of the best. If you guys haven't seen it, go back, spend the 8 minutes and watch this interview because so Paul Heyman actually breaks down a little bit on how he got paired up with the Beast before he made his debut, attacking Maven, Spike Dudley, and then there was one more talent. Let me see my notes here. I know it was Maven for sure. Spike. Oh, it was Maven, Spike Dudley, and Al Snow was the three that he attacked that night. And so building up to his debut and teaming up with Paul Heyman, they wanted to make Brock Lesnar a Russian. Now, these guys were the old school producer. Like, they were like older than Vince McMahon. They're like, we want to make you a Russian. We want you just to stand there. And we want people to stop bounce off of you and do. And Paul and Taz are like, hey, like, no, don't do this. This would ruin your career. You'll be gone in 6 months. I'm gonna go. Paul Heyman literally after that experience, so he fixed Brock Lesnar, went and talked to Vince McMahon about it and gave him the idea of working with him. But and this is a very dark side of this story a little bit with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman's pairing. Did you guys know that Paul Heyman was supposed to be teamed up with Chris Benoit?
I didn't know that.
No way.
Yeah, he was supposed to be paired up with Chris Benoit.
Wow.
But as soon after everything happened with Chris Benoit, they're like, hey, you're going to go work with Brock. Brock needs a mouthpiece because, not going to lie, Brock Lesnar does not have the best promo in the game.
No.
So Yeah.
He does have a nice cowboy hat, though.
He does.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he got better on the mic, though. That's the thing is, like, his.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
After he came back, like, I'm like, watching his old stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad he didn't talk because babyface Brock just does not work in the way it did when he first came to the main roster. Yeah, so he would basically attack Spike Dudley. And, dude, and people are like, Brock Lesnar is just a dumb farm boy, but Spike Dudley is probably the best person you can throw around. That's why I think small, shorter people like my size, like Spike Dudley and the Marco Stunts and the Hornswoggles, they have a very important spot in wrestling because it makes Brock Lesnar look even more dominant to where when he goes up against a John Cena or Undertaker, and we'll even talk that. I'm saying those earlier matches with Undertaker towards the end of the show, so we'll talk about those. I promise, fans.
There was one guy. I don't know if he wrestles still. I don't think he does, but he was a sensation, Zach Gowen. One leg, and he got Brock Lesnar tore him to pieces in front of his mom.
Nice.
He threw him downstairs. He just got beat the hell out of. But he had one leg, and he went through all that. I don't think he wrestles anymore, Zach Gowen, but he's a really good sensation wrestler that Brock Lesnar shred the pieces, talking about smaller guys going against Brock.
Yeah. Before we start talking about Brock's like crazy like first couple of years, Ethan brings up Lesnar versus Batista. OVW was great. For those of you guys have seen this, I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched the match, but was it when Batista was Leviathan or a swamp monster?
Yeah, he was Leviathan then. And then when he was called up to the main roster, he was known as Deacon.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Deacon.
He would go around.
He was paired up with, Devon, and he was carrying, like, the chain around his neck with the briefcase. I'm like, what is this? Like,
wouldn't they take, like,
Testify, Devon.
Like, wouldn't they take it, like, wouldn't they have, like, a thing go around, and they would take in offerings? Like, some people actually put money in there.
Gotta live the gimmick, you know. Hey, sometimes living expenses aren't cheap. So if I can get an extra $50 for a tank of gas and a 6-pack, I'm good to go. And then Davis brought up a good point about what a turn events with the I'm guessing with the Chris Benoit story. But yeah, that's crazy. Like it's still one of those things that baffles me that I had no idea was until I watched the interview with Paul Heyman that they buried that so far. I'm surprised he got the permission to tell that story, just because everything with pretty much Chris Benoit has been blacklisted from almost every wrestling media except for either Dark Side of the Ring or podcast that aren't affiliated with wrestling in general. Well, we're affiliated. Yeah. So looking at Brock Lesnar, and I feel like he had probably the best, I think, up and coming run. Probably because of his size, you know. If I was jacked and built like that, I probably would become the youngest world champion too. But at age 25, Brock Lesnar became the youngest world champion, defeating The Rock. Now, build up to this, he literally won King of the Ring within his first year, and then won a world championship. That is just mind blowing. Like I can't think of another wrestler that's had that same experience.
There's not many in WWE at least.
I mean, he fit pretty much all of what Vince McMahon wanted. He was big, strong. He was everything. He was a newer version of Hulk Hogan that he knew with Paul Heyman as the mouthpiece, because he knew Paul Heyman was a genius. You know, was not only a genius on the mic, but a backstage genius, a great producer. He understood it. With him as the mouthpiece, they knew Brock was in for big things. So, I mean, just they gave him the ball, and they're like, let's just roll with it. And he did.
I just think it's funny that Vince McMahon even said, the next big thing, that shit, that won't work. And then it literally was his whole character all the way up until he left to go play football. You know, and I was kind of looking at too, think about all the people he's faced, right? So in that time frame, so he faced, of course, you know, The Rock. He beat Bubba Dudley in the first round of the tournament. I can't remember. Did he beat Rob Van Dam during the Invasion storyline or as well?
I think so. I think
Yeah, a little bit
so.
after he came in like right after that.
Yeah.
That invasion was like the storyline was completed. He came in because he came in like the very last of Raw's War arena. Like he was like the last week of the Raw's War arena, and then the very next week it was the new set of the Ruthless Aggression era.
Ruthless Aggression. Yes. I'm just looking at do you guys have any, before we start talking about Eddie Guerrero and the Kurt Angle matches, do you guys have any other matches that stand out to you guys besides from Undertaker in that earlier time frame?
But Brock Lesnar?
Yeah, about Brock.
Him and the Hardys had a pretty good stuff.
I mean, even, yeah.
There was some one-on-ones and some handicaps. Brock Lesnar won them all, but it was really like those are some of the things I enjoyed back in those days, in that time frame.
Yeah, I know. For me, I remember.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I went to a WWE house show like back in January of 2002. And I remember him coming out, and it was just seeing him in person, like you said, it was just like who is this? Like he was just so big, and I'll never forget that feeling when I first saw him. So yeah.
I have not seen Brock Lesnar in person yet. I've wanted to so bad, but I've never had a chance to see him in person.
I haven't either.
Insane.
I've never seen him. I was in the same town as him one time when he came around here, but I never went to a show where he was at.
Really?
And even if I'd like to be like front row to see that, like, because sitting on the, Brock is definitely he's no Andre the Giant, but he's in this modern era, he's that probably.
No, if you look at it too, like there's nobody, like you can't really, it's hard to compare Brock Lesnar to Andre the Giant just because Brock Lesnar is just a crazy fighter. Don't get me wrong, Andre was a monster, but Brock Lesnar is like freaking Kratos level of gods. just thinking about it.
Andre was crazy. He would do the same things like Brock Lesnar do. I remember Brock Lesnar would shoot in the ring sometimes. I remember Braun Strowman hitting with that knee, and then he knocked the hell out. Like, have you guys seen that where Braun Strowman kneed Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar came out with a punch of his own? That's what Andre would do. Someone accidentally dumped him in the eyes, then Andre.
They call that a receipt, correct, in pro wrestling?
Yeah.
Yeah, receipt. Yeah.
A receipt. Adam, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was gonna say his feud early on with Hulk Hogan was some of my favorite stuff.
I forgot about the Hulkster.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into detail about
basically with that feud, it was a really quick one too. Like it really flew by. Because what it was I think McMahon handpicked Brock to be the person to like beat up Hulk Hogan, just because that was the whole start of the McMahon Hogan kind of hating each other and getting some heat with each other. So Brock was like the first person that they used there, because after the Brock, ironically, the next person to have an issue with Hulk Hogan was the Undertaker. Undertaker and Hogan had a little bit of a feud too over the Undisputed Championship. Which was ironic that those two guys that we're talking about now had a feud with Hulk Hogan. So both guys got to work with Hulk Hogan in their career. But yeah, no, it was a quick one because it was right before Lesnar would go on to beat The Rock at SummerSlam.
Man, like Brock has had an incredible 3-4 years in the WWE. It's so crazy like how short, but he was so memorable looking at it. And then that kind of brings, like I said, we'll talk about the Undertaker. We'll talk about like the Undertaker feuds at the very end, just because that kind of ties into breaking the streak. So hold tight with us, Josh. Of course, we'll bring up Judgment Day very soon. So let's talk about the infamous shooting star. Not pipe bomb. The infamous shooting star where we almost had another wrestler with a broken freaking neck.
That was. What a turn of events if that would have happened? He would have won the. What a turn of events that would have been. And that is still Kurt Angle's whole catch for his whole thing. Brock Lesnar could have done.
So what? I got a broken freaking neck too, and I made you tap out. And looking at it, so that was probably one of the best wrestling matches that Brock actually had. Like technical wise, I think Kurt Angle gave him basically at least on that first match, because I know they had a match in New Japan later down the road.
Yeah.
But man, that match is just such a technical classic, and they both beat the living shit out of each other.
Kurt Angle was very good about emotions, especially as a heel or a face, really. Angle and Jarrett, was Angle and Shawn Michaels. He would literally cry in the ring when he couldn't get a pin. He showed so much emotion that not many wrestlers do. Especially
in the business.
Especially as a heel, he would do some things to cheat to win, but even when he would try to cheat to win, he still won't get the pin, and then he's just desperate. And it's just really like he's really the only wrestler that shows so much emotion into there's others, but Kurt Angle really comes to mind about emotion in the ring. And then going on to this match, Angle and Lesnar, he pulled out all the stops on Lesnar to get him. It's not your typical Brock Lesnar match. He's actually wrestling in a technical match, which you don't see normally.
So Kurt Angle literally went on his podcast and literally explained after he almost broke his neck, having to take the Kurt Angle. I know he was only a few years in at the time, but to have that, basically to have that ring awareness and to know, hey, something is not right, and for him to still able to give Brock Lesnar to F5 him and safely finish the match, a lot of props needs to go to Kurt Angle for that too. On a performing standpoint, I know that we kind of killed kayfabe a couple weeks ago on the show, but looking at what Kurt Angle did, you have to respect the man for that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Does anyone know what Brock Lesnar did after that match? About the whole Vince McMahon stuff?
No.
After the Kurt Angle match?
Yeah. Well,
I kind of vaguely remembered that he was out of it.
Vince McMahon said, "I don't want to see you ever do that again." And then, and then somehow, some way, someone tried to get somehow they got a video footage of they tried to put a neck brace on it. What do they call it? I'm lost for words.
Neck brace, C-collar.
Neck brace. And then they tried to put him on, and he said, "What the hell are you doing?" And he took it off and then threw it across the room, and people doctors trying to help him, and he was about to beat up some doctors trying to put stuff on him. And
well, luckily he didn't have a broken freaking neck. Also, shortly after, I know he had a hot potato feud with the championship with Big Show shortly after, where you would have the infamous breaking of the ring after Brock Lesnar suplexes the Big Show.
Yeah, that's always going to be at least for SmackDown, that's going to be they tried to recreate it with Braun Strowman and Big Show, didn't they? You can't recreate that. You're just not going to do that.
Didn't Big Show and Mark Henry also break the ring too?
I believe they did.
Yes.
You can try to recreate it as long as the only thing you can recreate is when Brock Lesnar literally lifted the whole ring up with SummerSlam. That's the only way you can. But yeah, Brock and Big Show, they that's when Paul Heyman turned on Brock, right?
Yep, around that time. That was something that I couldn't find a whole lot of information about, and I do apologize, listeners. So maybe Zach, Adam, and Connor could probably get more detail. So why don't you guys explain to me the story behind Paul Heyman turning on Brock Lesnar?
I think what it was because Brock was going as, I mean, he was seen as this wrecking force, and Heyman felt it need be that there needed to be a heel, and I believe Heyman made the decision backstage saying, this is going to get Brock over even more and get him to a level that no one's ever imagined. And plus it was just crazy because no one would have thought someone like Paul Heyman, who essentially brought Lesnar into the main roster scene and pretty much was his mouthpiece and talking about this force that is Brock Lesnar. He said, I can't remember which interview it was, but he's like, it was a group decision between him, McMahon, and Brock to have Paul turn on him at Survivor Series. I think it was a cool idea. I mean, plus it gave him a chance to regain the title and get, more, title reigns for the short time that he was there for his first run in WWE.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you think it backfired a little bit, or do you think it did what it needed to do? Because I always wondered that, because I feel like it's not talked about a whole lot, or at least in modern wrestling.
Brock Lesnar and Heyman splitting.
Yeah.
In a way, because Brock is not good on the mic, as we've said before. He's had some good moments on the mic with certain people, like Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, and John Cena, and a few others. But in general, he's not a good. He's even said it himself. He's even said it himself. He's not really good at talking on the mic. He just doesn't prefer to do it. He just comes in, wrecks people, leave. Still some nice catchphrase, but basically what he did. In a way, I would say, because after that he was on a. They kind of turned him face, but after that he was still heel against. I don't know, like, was that before or after they had the brand split? Was that before? It was after the brand split, right? Like the first.
I see. Was that after the brand split? I
feel like it is because
I can't remember.
So it was like 2002 because when Lesnar won the championship the first time, McMahon had stated that he would only defend that on SmackDown. And that's when the Raw, when Bischoff said, all right, then we're going to reintroduce the World Heavyweight title for Raw.
Because, Lesnar and Big Show was on SmackDown because that's when, not many people remember this and it sucks. WWE not using more, but Matt Morgan was a part of that group. It was Big Show, Heyman, Matt Morgan, and there was someone else. Was it Luther Reigns?
Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle's with them too, yeah.
Kurt Angle, yeah.
And like Matt Morgan is one of my favorite big guys ever. But TNA was where he got his recognition, but Matt Morgan and Brock Lesnar would have been good. If anyone knows how big Matt Morgan is, yeah, I've seen him in person, and golly, that dude is huge. Like,
just massive, 7 foot tall. Can't teach that kind of huge.
Probably taller than that. That
wow.
So now let's start talking about like the end of his first run. That brings us to 2004 and his match against one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, Viva Ras, your puppy. He went one-on-one with Eddie Guerrero. And this one on paper was probably another one of his like better like actual clinical matches. And then of course Eddie doing his trickery. Of course, got to slide the belt in, do all those tricks. And then, do you know who came out at the end of the match to set up a WrestleMania feud?
Yep. That was the person we all want to see in AEW, Goldberg, right? Goldberg. I believe we got a comment. Yeah, someone mentioned that. I don't know how to pronounce.
Seems Otto. I think that's how we're going to pronounce it. Wasn't his last match against Goldberg? That is correct.
Yep.
See, look at that. We have good trivia on the show. Yes, so his last match at WrestleMania was with Goldberg. And if I remember correctly, Goldberg won with a spear. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, he won. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's right. That's when like the whole crowd was turning against them, right?
Yeah, they booed the hell.
That was the first time they did that.
Was Stone Cold the special guest referee for that?
And he was a special guest referee.
Yeah.
Was it referee or enforcer?
No, he was the referee.
Like I remember everyone cheering for Stone Cold and then booing the hell out of the people wrestling because they were.
Well,
both
that's
leaving.
because they were both leaving. So Brock was leaving. For football, and I don't know where Bill was going. I think he was also just leaving for football too, wasn't he? They were both trying for I think for the NFL. So I thought it was cool because Goldberg had just come off a feud with The Rock when him and Lesnar set up this first feud that they had back in 2004. And that's when The Rock left to go to Hollywood. So this was like a perfect setup. It almost came like full circle, like where Brock beat The Rock for his first title, and now Goldberg had just beat The Rock. So it's like the storytelling. It's like both these guys have beat the former champion. These are the two guys we're going to focus a story on.
I remember Brock and The Rock, SummerSlam. They booed The Rock out of the building because he didn't leave after that, but he was not going to be full time after that. He did appearances after that, but they booed. It's full circle how he got booed at WrestleMania. I'd rather get booed at SummerSlam WrestleMania. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna lie. But
if you learn anything, wrestlers do not go to Hollywood because fans will not let you live that down. Or if you're like John Cena, you become a hypocrite.
Everyone it comes full circle. Like Roman Reigns said, he showed the clip of during their feud, he showed the clip of John Cena talking trash to The Rock, and now Roman Reigns, whoever does it to him, they can show the same clip of Roman talking about John Cena, but now they can show Roman.
Well, Roman's only had one movie. It's not like he's been like John Cena and like.
Well, like he's still kind of. Is he part time?
Cena?
Roman.
No, Roman's I would say as a personal wrestling fan and not liking the whole not being on TV as much as the champion should be, being the next Brock Lesnar, I would say he's a part-timer.
So whoever it is, it could be Cody to bring the clip up where he was talking trash to John Cena. Then when Cody goes part, this is gonna be a full circle thing.
Everybody just goes part-time eventually.
Yeah.
I think I'll say maybe Randy Orton. Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler might be the only two, as of recent memories, that have not gone part-time. You don't see Dolph Ziggler on TV, and Randy Orton, God bless him. Hopefully he comes back soon, but that neck injury probably not going to come back. I think reports are saying that he's done for.
Hopefully he at least has that. Hopefully he at least has one more, like a proper send off.
Yeah. Well,
he's in a few movies, but he not really heavily like Cena or Rock.
Yeah. But he was also actively wrestling at the time.
Yeah, he's always been, as you said, those are the only two guys, Orton and Ziggler. They're day in, day out.
Maybe even add the Miz in there too, if we're going to talk that, because the Miz is another one that's since mid-2000s where he's stayed consistent. Which is funny because he's like the most Hollywood must-see Miz TV guy. But yet he has not had a blockbuster movie besides, the Marine 5 or 4?
Everyone died, yeah. Everyone died.
Just saying, I love you, Miz, but you might want to look at how you're acting. But I think it's the best character for him. So, as you guys know, we were talking about it. Brock would leave due to frustrations, wanting a lighter schedule. So he goes and gets on the Minnesota Vikings. He lasts until preseason, and then during preseason, they fire him.
I believe
You're fired.
You're fired.
Who did Goldberg play for? Didn't he play football too?
Atlanta, I think.
Yeah, was it Falcons?
I think it was Atlanta, yeah.
I want to say it was the Falcons. Yeah, I think you're right. It was the Falcons. Atlanta. But looking
Which
at
then,
it,
ironically, then he had that big heavyweight championship battle fight with Hogan in the Georgia Dome. So again, full circle.
weird, isn't it? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then looking at it too, and then he goes right in 2005. I was surprised on this one, and I know I've seen one match of his in New Japan Pro Wrestling, but he would go to New Japan Pro Wrestling and win the championship on his first night in the Tokyo Dome. Did you know that?
I hate to say it, but
Yeah.
like back then, anyone like even Hogan, they would come in and dominate really.
Yeah.
But Hulk Hogan actually wrestled in New Japan. If anyone's seen his New Japan stuff, he's a
his
completely
New
different.
Japan stuff.
He's a completely different wrestler than like there's two different people, two different wrestling styles. But nowadays New Japan's a little bit more.
I feel like they're the ones that are pushing out stars, and I feel like they're getting not stolen, but they're getting a bigger shot to come to the States for AEW and WWE.
I don't think they'll. I don't think they'll. I don't think they'll ever. Well, never say never, but I don't think they'll ever have guys like all at once, like AJ Styles, Kenny Omega. But a lot of the workhorses they still have: Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., Okada,
the Gorillas of Destiny. I'm surprised God hasn't signed with WWE, especially with Hunter. Well, no, I don't know, but with Hunter being in charge, because I know Tama Tonga's talked about going over there. Especially now that he has no ties with Bullet Club anymore, I'm surprised he doesn't. But maybe he just is like Lance Archer. He just loves that loves that Japan lifestyle.
I remember WWE was supposed to sign Jay White, but they stopped signing. Like they froze signing anyone. Like they were going to sign. What is his name? He was on AEW a little bit. He's back. He's Haku's son.
Was it Fatu?
What is his name? He was on AEW.
Shoot.
He beat. He won some title on AEW.
Tonga.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too.
He was with Bullet Club too once. He was going to sign there. El Phantasmo, Jay White, a bunch of them were going to sign with WWE, but they just stopped. They just put like a freeze on signing anyone.
Really?
What was his name? His Haku's son.
What is Haku's? I can't remember.
I know.
Yeah, I can't.
He's been on AEW. He went against Moxley or Archer. Maybe even both of them.
Yeah. We'll have Zach look it up real quick.
But yeah, a bunch of them were going to sign with. Which I'm kind of glad that Collision's now a thing because I bet they told him like they could probably give him a full-on offer of like.
Are you talking about Tonga Loa?
Yeah.
Was the former Camacho in WWE?
Haku's son.
Was it Tama Tonga?
Because he's got 4 kids, and then Tama Tonga,
right,
was in founding member of the Bullet Club.
Right.
He made appearances in Impact.
Say his name again.
It's not Tama Tonga.
Tama Tonga.
No, it wasn't Tama because Tama has said I think he hates AEW because of the Bucks.
I can't.
How about Haikuleo?
Oh, I think it was Was it Haiku?
Hikuleo.
Hikuleo. That's it.
Yeah.
Hikuleo. That's his. Yeah.
He was gonna sign with. It was a bunch of them that was gonna be signing, but luckily I bet they gave like Jay White a full like, hey, we got this new show Collision. If you want to, you can be primarily focused on there because Juice is already there. He knows Juice.
Yeah.
Which maybe it's a good thing that they did. I don't know how they would have done all that with Hikuleo and Jay White and all that. I don't know how that would have went down.
I think there's something. I still think they brought him in for a reason. I think we got to flush out the bigger storylines of the Elite first,
Well, no, like I'm just saying, like I don't know how WWE would have used Jay White. I don't know how. I don't know how that goes. I feel like they would.
Judgment Day? Sorry.
I feel like they would have changed his name and everything about him. That made him him. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna call you Jay.
I think Hikuleo would end up.
I got it. We're gonna call you Mr. White. We're gonna call you Mr.
Mr. White.
And you're gonna come out and you're gonna be
Yeah.
called the Switch.
I feel
And you're gonna be like Christian. You're gonna do that kill switch.
I feel like they would literally change his name to just Switchblade.
Oh.
No more Jay White.
They would have made him come out looking like freaking Jack the Ripper every time.
Right? Or like a greaser from like the 1950s.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Switchblade Jay Smith. They would have changed his last name and everything. And would have given him like kind of a gimmick like the Vaudevillains had in NXT.
Oh goodness.
Oh god,
Yeah.
that's horrible.
Dude, oh man, that's a memory I forgot about.
Like
I
Hikuleo-
actually like them.
Did you know
I marked
that
out for
one
them.
of the members of that is now married into the Guerrero family?
Yes, was it?
Hey.
It's not
Aiden
Aiden.
English.
No, it's not Aiden.
It's Aiden English. Yeah, Aiden English is
English?
married. Yeah, Aiden English is married to Eddie's daughter.
What? No way.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
I remember for like her birthday, he can sing pretty good. When him and Mira was together, he would sing a little bit.
He's married to Sal Guerrero.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So,
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. The more
so
you know.
technically, Eddie Guerrero is his stepfather.
Talk about some big shoes.
He's
to
his
fill.
poppy.
His poppy.
Yeah.
And a side note, do you guys know one of the opponents that Brock defended the IWGP title against when he was over there?
Ooh, was it Shinsuke?
No.
Yeah, there's Shinsuke Nakamura.
Wow.
Nakamura.
No way.
Did
Yeah,
you
he
know
defended
that?
it in 2006. He defended it against Shinsuke.
How
Oh
sad.
wow.
And then he wrestled against Akabono over there.
Hmm.
And then obviously Tanahashi.
Tanahashi.
Yeah.
So
But
he
also,
wrestled a lot of big names over in New Japan.
and it's sad because looking at it, Shinsuke has gone on record saying that was the worst match he's ever had, or one of the.
Oh
and also,
wow.
well, Brock. He was saying that Brock Lesnar was one of the hardest people to wrestle.
Oh yeah.
Hmm. Just because he's stiff, or
Just wasn't Brock just doesn't have Brock just doesn't have that style. He doesn't like he's a hard hitter, but he doesn't have like a Nakamura strong style or a Styles. I think that's one of his learning points, because when you look at it, look at his matches with Bryan Danielson and AJ Styles and Finn Balor. Those are some of the best, David and Goliath strong style theme matches we've had, New Japan style kind of match. So it's weird how long it took him to get used to that style. I bet if we had that Brock go up against Shinsuke, I think we would have had a 5-star match on our hands.
I mean, and that's why Brock, I know I'm jumping the ship, but when Brock came back to WWE for his second time, he wrestled all the little guys because he loved wrestling the small, skinny guys because he could work with them.
Yeah.
And they could put on good matches.
That's
So
where
he preferred that.
That's where Suplex City became big.
Mm-hmm.
Suplex City.
Oh Dallas. Oh god.
Yeah. Bo Dallas was sure not believing after that night.
no.
Yeah, I remember that. Like that was like the ultimate Suplex City,
Yeah.
or a battleground. Was Lesnar and Rollins?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's one of your vocal points of this thing, but something interesting happened after that match, or during the match. The match didn't end, I don't think.
No, that one's not on the list, unfortunately. So,
Well, that's it technically happens after. I don't know if I say it, I'll ruin the whole thing. Probably.
we can say it towards the end.
Yeah, because
Second run.
it's after WrestleMania 30. So
Yeah, that one we might have to wait. We might have to do a different episode on that one, because this one's basically up to.
leading up to it,
Yeah, but we could also maybe probably just add it in. Like,
we can probably talk about that part 3.
yeah, we could do that towards like how they've gone off their directions after that. So, well, Brock would also get frustrated with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he would also be stripped of the title, but then also keep it and then lose it to Kurt Angle.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yep. Kurt Angle has held the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship.
At the same time, he was TNA World Heavyweight Champion.
I forgot about that.
Way.
Really? He was?
Yeah, he was TNA World Champion during that feud because it was a champion versus champion match.
Because that's the time when he won all the belts. Like, he won the X Division, he won Tag, he's like a whole bunch of belts.
Yeah. Like, he was the other belt collector.
Like, he had a lot of titles.
He was the original Matt Cardona.
Yeah. I wish they would have done that with FTR. Like they had the 3, but just the AEW they needed. That was just what they needed. But I think we're gonna see that again. Maybe not anytime. Maybe not in the next year or so. But I think we'll see FTR do that again.
I could.
That'd be cool.
ROH titles, baby. AEW titles, baby. New Japan titles, baby. Let's do it. So, during his frustrations and almost exit, Brock Lesnar would find a love for hurting people even more. And he would start his mixed martial arts career. And I didn't know this, but his first fight was not for the UFC.
No.
Belter.
It went. His first match was a win, and was against Min-So Kim at K1 Dynamite USA in 2007. Yeah, I was like, I didn't know that. So I'm not the best when it comes to watching UFC, so I do apologize. So if you guys have any comments about his UFC fights, because I've seen a couple clips and the guy destroyed people.
Yeah, it was the Stone Cold podcast. Well, on the WWE Network when that was a thing.
For only $9.99.
I remember them talking about this one kid that he beat the hell out of, but he like not many people do what that kid did, but he charged at Brock Lesnar. Then Brock Lesnar beat the hell. Like, I definitely recommend watching his highlights and stuff because me saying it is just not enough. It's just not. I'm not giving it justice.
Do you guys know who his first UFC opponent was?
That was former heavyweight champion Frank Mir.
Yep. Ding, ding, ding. Adam gets the pony.
I was really into MMA for a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
What was your thoughts on this fight? Didn't he get knocked out in the first round?
No, so what it was because of the size of his hands, he had to wear 4XL size gloves. So
damn, he's a big boy.
He only became the second man in Nevada's combat sports history to wear such gloves. But he, had a couple of takedowns, and I think he submitted Frank Mir. I think he got him in some kind of submission, and no, Frank Mir submitted Brock Lesnar. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I had to rethink because it's been a while since I saw that fight.
It was the first round. Yeah.
He submitted Brock. I think with like a leg kind of submission.
Yeah.
But,
I'm looking at the results.
It was a really good fight. It was a really good fight. It was quick because it only lasted one round.
Crazy. At least Brock Lesnar turned it around. Unlike, unfortunately, the best in the world. I feel he did not have the best UFC career.
No.
Sorry, CM Punk. We love you, buddy.
I can't. Even though I'm a CM Punk fan, I can't defend that.
No.
Of course, I loved he used cult of personality and he kept everything. And a lot of wrestlers went to his first fight. Paul Heyman was there. Eric Rowan was.
Yeah.
Talk to him. But UFC is a lot different than wrestling that some people find out, but some others in WWE that transition to UFC, it works out. Lesnar, we're talking about.
Look at Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley. He didn't go to UFC, went to Bellator, and he dominated pretty good there. I think Samoa Joe even did some MMA.
Joe did mixed martial arts before he became a professional wrestler.
And then AEW's own Jake Hager. Did anyone see his draw fight?
No.
Okay, well, that was he low blowed the guy 3 times. But he said it was like Jake Hager was undefeated, but he used his knee and hit the guy down low once. And then he keeps on saying it's an accident, but you don't do it 3 times and then say it's an accident. You don't do that. Have it the second time. That's not an accident.
Yeah, 3rd time, no. You're just being absolute D-bag at that point.
Like the guy he faced never fought it again after that. Like Jake Hager ended that dude's career with 3 low blows. Well, not like a low blow, but his knee.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Oliver. It's good to see you on. And that's what I was looking at his records right now. I haven't pulled up my phone because, like I said, I've only watched clips from his matches or fights, I should say. Sorry, they're not matches, they're fights. So after he would lose to Frank, he would come back and he would beat Heath Herring, and then he would win his first world championship. Do you know what big fighter who he won it from?
John Jones.
No, that was Randy Couture.
Randy Couture.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
He won it at UFC 91. And then he would go on and got some revenge and beat Frank Mir at UFC 100. It would also then go on and he would beat Shane Carwin. Carwin? Is that how you pronounce it?
Carwin, yeah.
Yeah, Shane Carwin. And then you would have his last 2 being a loss and no contest. His biggest defeat yet, and WWE tried to redo it at Saudi Arabia, of all places. Brock Lesnar would lose via KO to Cain Velasquez. Now, I have not seen the full fight, but I did watch some of the clips from this one.
Adam's face just says it all.
Oh my God, Brock Lesnar! Like you don't see man get manhandled like Brock Lesnar did at his size, but Brock got manhandled.
Yeah, that was ugly.
Yeah. No, Cain Velasquez just destroyed him. But Cain's a big guy.
Yeah.
People underestimate the size of Cain Velasquez. Yeah. Because Velasquez was such a much better striker than Lesnar. Lesnar was just big and just trying to use his brute body force just to throw strikes, but it was Cain that had the reach and basically had the ability to outstrike Brock Lesnar in that fight. Lesnar used a little bit of his wrestling background, but man, but Cain just came out and he just knocked Lesnar out and won by TKO.
Crazy to think like that. That's got to be one of the biggest UFC matches of all time. Looking at it, that's got to be. So after that, he would come back almost a little over a year later and would lose to Alistair Overeem. Is that how you pronounce his name? Overeem. I've never. I have to apologize.
Sure.
I'm not too good with the names. I'll just say yes. So he would. So he would lose that match. Let's see. He lost it to KO again.
Yeah.
Ouch. That's got
Alistair Overeem.
Overeem.
That's how you say his name.
Okay.
Yeah, Alistair Overeem.
Yep. And then his last UFC fight, I believe he won, but they overturned it due to taking some enhancements.
That's right.
Yeah. So Brock Lesnar should have won the fight, but due to drug policy, he failed the drug test, and that was the last we saw of Brock Lesnar in the UFC. You gotta admit, though, he had probably one of the better wrestling of all the wrestlers that's done it, besides probably Ken Shamrock. feel like he's had probably the second best when it comes to a mixed martial arts career.
Yeah, well, Ken Shamrock actually started in shoot fighting over in Japan.
Oh yeah, because he did didn't he also do like the strongman competitions too? As well
he did do the strongmans, but he also did the shoot fighting over in Japan, which was, if nobody knows about shoot fighting, it's basically a combination of pro wrestling and actual like kickboxing fighting. So, and it was actually the idea of, and I think I've mentioned this before. But Art Davie, who is the founder of UFC, when it first started in the 90s, him and Rorion Gracie, if anybody knows the Gracie family, they're a long history of fighting family, and their style of fighting has been told that it cannot be defeated by any style. So Art Davie had the idea to hold this 8-man tournament and bring in people from different styles. So he had a sumo wrestler, he had a boxer, he had a kickboxer, he had Gracie in there, he had Ken Shamrock in there. And when they did UFC, they only had like 2 or 3 rules. And the night before the pay-per-view, they had to go over this list of certain things. And I remember it because I was watching it on Dark Side of the 90s on Vice TV. And they interviewed Ken Shamrock, and he was upset. He goes, dude, is this a shoot, or is this like planned? Like, I don't understand this. It wasn't until the sumo wrestler and the kickboxer at their match that the kickboxer just jacked the sumo wrestler then kicked him in the mouth, and the sumo wrestler's teeth just flew out.
Oh my gosh.
And that's when Ken Shamrock was backstage watching it, and he looked at Art Davie and said, okay, I'm in. And so him and Ken and Gracie had a great rivalry during the early stages of UFC, which, you know, as soon as we get Ken on, I want to talk to him about that, because it was I remember that feud. But yeah, no, Art Davie had the idea for it. So like you said, like out of all the pro wrestlers that did it, Ken Shamrock was actually the first to do that, then come to WWF. But Brock actually was the most successful pro wrestler to transition into UFC. Kind of like, I think, how The Rock was the first pro wrestler to actually be successful in Hollywood.
Yeah. Instead of being Thunder Lips or the wrestler in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Oh, rest in peace, Macho Man.
Yeah. Well, I still got 5 more minutes. Oh, man. All right. So before we start talking about the his return to WWE, let's go to the comment section. Mike wants to tell Zach that he loves Zach's setup. So thanks, Mike. We appreciate you. And that's very nice of you to say for Zach. That's awesome.
Thank you, Mike.
P-Dog, unfortunately, we do not know when Ken Shamrock will be on. That's something between us and his manager, unfortunately, at the moment, so we don't know the details on that. He hasn't been on in a while, so thanks for coming back, P-Dog. And P-Dog also says, nice to see you, Zach.
Good to be here.
So, now it's going to be the fun part. Well, where I really, really started becoming a major mark and started hating a wrestler. I have not hated a wrestler so much until I met Brock Lesnar. Well, saw him on TV, I should say. So, April 2nd, right after WrestleMania, right after Cena loses to The Rock in what was supposed to be the once-in-a-lifetime match. Cena would try to call The Rock, but The Rock didn't come out. Brock Lesnar would make his WWE return and take out the Boy Scout himself, John Cena.
That was the night I got out of wrestling.
Really? You didn't watch after that?
Well, I trying to remember back, but I was a big John Cena fan at the time. That's hard for me to say, but back then, the women and children loved Cena, and then the men booed him. But I like John Cena, and they did away with the brand split, and it was really different. Once Brock came in, I was done. But I don't know why really I got out of wrestling. But I was about 10, 11. So I was getting into other things, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I got into basketball and a lot of other things, but it's real crazy that I got back into wrestling while Brock Lesnar was going against Seth Rollins for the world title. So I got out of wrestling because of Brock, and I got back in.
That's funny.
So
nice.
Went full circle. And it sucks because I missed a lot of CM Punk stuff. Because what year was this?
This was 2000. I believe it was 12 or 13.
See, I missed all the
2012.
I missed a lot of the CM Punk stuff. I missed a lot of. I missed this whole ending to this series. I didn't see WrestleMania 30 live. I didn't see I didn't see any of this because I got out of wrestling. But
this was also a very frustrating time.
But I did go back and watch everything that I missed, so I know everything that happened that time period.
Now this would be also Cena's most bloodiest match, to my knowledge, where there was chains, steel steps, suplexes, strikes. It almost looked like it was a real fight. But Brock Lesnar would not win his first match back.
Does Extreme Rules.
Right? Extreme Rules, yep. And Cena would hit him with the chain and then AA the Beast on top of the steel steps for the 1, 2, 3. Now, I remember John Cena's promo at the end. And I'm not sure, I can't remember if he was hurt going into it, but he was sure hurt going out of it, where I think he had to have a shoulder surgery, just a minor shoulder surgery. But he had to step away from the ring for a little bit. So it was a good way to write him off. But, man, I have never seen John Cena get so beat down and hurt. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a huge Cena fan. And I was a huge, huge Cena mark at the time.
Yeah.
And I was so furious. I did not want Brock Lesnar to win. So what does he do next? Guys, he goes and breaks Triple H's arm.
Kayfabe breaks his arm.
Yeah, kayfabe.
Like they went against each other at WrestleMania, didn't they? And if that was going to be Triple H's career ending.
Not yet. There was one match before that.
It's SummerSlam.
SummerSlam, yep.
Yeah.
So he would face off at SummerSlam, and Brock would get the win.
Yeah.
And then it was great because the next night he cut a promo and basically said, all right, I'm leaving again because I've done everything in this company. He's like, so I'm good. So I'm out of here.
Crazy how Brock Lesnar, he's one of a kind, that's for sure. I'm not talking about RVD.
Yeah, you won't ever see like Brock Lesnar.
See, I was so happy for him to go. But I guess it's one of those things. I'm going to ask you guys about this before I continue on. What did you guys think about Brock Lesnar and all like him being a part-time, basically between the streak, his championships? What was your guys' thoughts on that? Did you guys think he was an oddity and it was just a draw, or as a fan? Because I know I personally was disappointed in this, but were you guys disappointed in Brock and WWE for putting the belt on a part-time champion and not seeing the belt literally for like 3 years? At least it felt like 3 years.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm old school. I want to see the champ every week. He's the main draw. I do understand why they did it the way they did, because it's like you want to make his matches as big as he is, and you want to continue that momentum. But yeah, I'm not into the part-time champ.
Yeah, this is in 20. He beat. This is a Universal title run. He beat Goldberg for that belt.
Oh yeah.
WrestleMania 33. That was like the last good WrestleMania for me. WrestleMania 32 was good because they had all these injuries, and then somehow they put on the best WrestleMania.
Crazy how that
WrestleMania
works, isn't it?
33. Yeah, because I remember Goldberg. I hated that Goldberg squashed Brock Lesnar. Like they built that up so much. Like first time in some odd years, Brock and Goldberg 1-on-1. Then the match is only 30 seconds long.
Oh, I was so pissed.
And then at WrestleMania, it went on a little longer. I was glad to see Brock Lesnar win the title because at that time I got back. I was really back into wrestling at that point. But then they, after that, they just fizzled out. You know, he had a feud against Samoa Joe. I didn't really like anything they were doing in 2017. Everything sucked in my opinion. Everything sucked. Like I was about to get her wrestling again. Like 2015 was good. 2016 and 2017 was the drizzling shit. I don't like part-time champions.
No, I hate. That's one thing so that's one thing like when everybody's like, well, MJF doesn't wrestle a whole lot. I'm like, well, MJF's on TV more than Roman Reigns has been. Roman Reigns, almost 1,000-day run, and MJF's been on TV more. I think MJF has almost had as many matches as Roman Reigns has had in 3 years. So, plus he also has the most entertaining storylines. I get Bloodline storyline; it's great, but way too damn long.
MJF, like Roman isn't even on TV, just cutting a promo. At least MJF cuts a promo, or like here lately, he's been wrestling a lot more.
Yeah.
But whether it's backstage skits or romance stuff, or
I love what he's doing right now.
He like right now is probably the best time of his championship run right now. But I know a lot of fans are gonna get mad, but I think MJF's better champion than Roman Reigns. But if I was to say that on Twitter, I'd get.
Well, I think the hard part is people love I think the last 6 months, the Bloodline story really has kicked off. Ever since the Sami Zayn turn at the Royal Rumble, that's really where it started kicking off and getting better. The Uzi stuff with Sami really made it fun. But then once you kind of got into the gritty and everything started falling apart, that's when people are like, WWE does better storytelling than AEW. Well, WWE just has one major story going on. AEW has had, at least 3 or 4 different stories and then other little stories being interwoven into a bigger picture. So I digress. That's why we're a wrestling podcast, So we would have pretty much, I don't think we would see really Brock until, like Connor was saying, WrestleMania 29, where it was Triple H's career versus Brock Lesnar. So that was the only way Brock and Paul Heyman would accept the stipulation, if I remember correctly.
And wasn't that Triple H's last WrestleMania with the long hair?
I think it was his last with long hair.
Yeah, because he came.
30
because 30 he cut his head because that's when he started his feud with Roman Reigns as the authority figure.
Yeah, I miss long hair Triple H,
but he would put it in like the tie, the pony tie.
Yeah.
So, which was not a good look for Triple H. That was like calling back to his Hunter Hearst Helmsley character in the 90s. So
Mr.
Preppy and. So I actually enjoyed. I actually thought that was a good feud with Triple H. They had a couple of good matches. Obviously with Paul Heyman there too in the middle of it. You got Vince McMahon involved in the storyline. You got Stephanie McMahon involved. So you kind of had pretty much the thing with Brock. Kind of, believe it or not, actually. If you believe it, led to the creation of the Authority, the feud with Triple H and Brock Lesnar. So I think it was the start of Triple H basically putting his in-ring career on the line all the time now from that moment on. So So yeah, it kind of created the authority, that feud.
You know, so that was a great match. And then we fast forward because I know CM Punk was working with Paul Heyman also at the time.
Yeah.
Fast forward a little bit to SummerSlam, where CM Punk would face off against the Beast, Brock Lesnar.
And broke my heart.
Yeah. The hard part is, I think at the time, I think AEW, or not AEW, I think WWE was losing their trust and their faith in CM Punk as a wrestler. Because I feel like this was kind of when things kind of got a little shifty for Punk, even more than they were. Now, I'm not the CM Punk expert like Connor is, but do you recall his match with Brock Lesnar and the outcome and the effects of it?
Me?
Yeah. Mr. CM Punk expert.
I haven't watched the match. Well, I've seen highlights of it. I haven't watched the full match because at that time I wasn't in the wrestling. But I missed CM Punk's whole entire run, which was I missed the pipe bomb. I missed a lot.
It's sad to me that you missed the pipe bomb. That was like one of my first memories of like.
But
wrestling.
I don't know if I did miss it because I got out of wrestling when Brock came back, and then Brock wasn't around when Punk cut his pipe bomb. So I could have seen that. I just don't remember.
It's around the same time frame, but I think pipe bomb was before Brock.
But I know if I did witness it, I didn't like it because I was a John Cena fan. So.
Well, the thing is, what activated me with Punk, and that's why I didn't hate him for doing the things he did with John Cena, was just because his statement was, it just felt real, and it felt different from what I was seeing the couple weeks I've been watching wrestling at that point. It
was like, looking back on it, it was really, really, really good, and a lot of those things that he said has come true today. Well, Vince McMahon he hasn't deceased yet, but he was right that his stupid son-in-law and his idiotic daughter and ref, his stupid family would take over, and he even confirmed, it even came true, that thing he did with it was a Comic-Con, him and Jade was in it, and he said that like Vince McMahon retired. Then he said, like, you're not going to tell me that Vince McMahon has nothing in WWE. Like, there's no way he's going to just sit back, and then he came back.
You knew that he was coming back. I think we all knew that.
Like Vince McMahon will never. He'll probably have something to do with WWE even when he dies. He'll still have some control in it.
Probably.
No channel.
He's just sitting there like it's a spirit and gorilla. Like, I did not like that. Where's the AI robot? They're more controllable. Here, put me in the robot. I'll show you how it's done, pal.
But I think for CM Punk, after his world title run, he had like 400-something day run after Rock, and then he had that he said that his WrestleMania moment was Undertaker. Like even it wasn't even the main event, but that was the main event to him. After that, they kind of fizzled out on CM Punk. So, but he did do the Shield stuff. So
yeah, well, it was the feud with Brock that was basically his last big feud. And then he literally was supposed to have a storyline with the Shield and like freaking corporate Kane and all this. And I mean, Kane is the one that threw Punk out of the ring for the Royal Rumble, and everybody booed. And it's just like right there, he's just like, I'm done. I'm out of here.
You know, at that time, like interviews and stuff, and he was done. Didn't he sue WWE and win in court because they made him wrestle while injured?
Yeah, he sued them and the medical staff.
Yeah, like he actually won that.
He got fired on his wedding day.
He probably didn't give a. Well, that's really no Brock Lesnar. I know Vince McMahon actually talked about that in the Stone Cold podcast on the WWE Network, that he regretted doing that. Which it kind of wasn't I don't know if it was on purpose, but his response was it wasn't intentionally on. Wasn't intention on that day. It was like it wasn't intended to be how it was.
That's what his lawyers told him to say.
Well, that's Vince McMahon, but
it's like Kennedy McMahon.
But at that point, CM Punk was he just lost love for wrestling at that point. It seemed like, which what he said when he came back to wrestling AEW that I can't remember the line he said. He stayed in the same place that got him sick in the first place. Basically, line.
Yeah. So, looking at it now, like that probably was the same Punk's last big feud.
Undertaker and then it was Undertaker and Punk at WrestleMania 30, and then
that brings us to Brock Lesnar and Undertaker. So before we start talking about and leave the people with the cliffhanger, why don't we go back a little bit to 2002, and let's talk about their first match at Unforgiven 2002, where Taker would lose due to Matt Hardy's interference. If I remember correctly. Yeah. So, dang it, Matt. Really? God, just had to ruin a good match. So that was the first one. And then at No Mercy 2003, Vince would cost Undertaker the win in that one. So already 0-2. That's not good. And then Undertaker would have... Actually, did Undertaker ever beat Brock Lesnar? Or was it Hell in a Cell, like, way down the road?
He beat him... Oh, my God.
He didn't... didn't he beat him at SummerSlam?
I think so.
Yeah.
2015, 16.
It was right after... Yeah, because he came back after the streak.
Yeah, because he beat him at Hell in a Cell. Then I know they had another match at SummerSlam. I can't remember which one he won, but he won one of those two.
Yeah, because I think up to that point, I think Undertaker lost because he lost No Mercy in 2002 as well. Forgot to mention that one. Unforgiven, No Mercy 2003, and then our episode for next week. So I don't think he won any other matches against Brock until after the streak ended.
He on December, this article written December 1st, 2022, as of the time of the writing, Undertaker has beaten Brock Lesnar just once in a singles match through his career. The first match was between him and Brock Lesnar in Unforgiven 2002.
So he basically went almost a decade without it.
Pretty much. Let's see here. So it was first match was Undertaker and Lesnar in Unforgiven 2002. Their first encounter was a double disqualification. Lesnar won the rematch at Hell in a Cell at No Mercy in 2002. Then they would meet at the WrestleMania for the streak. 2015, Undertaker finally beat Brock Lesnar.
Wow. That's wild. So, fast forward back to 2014. The Undertaker would attack Brock Lesnar and set up the domination for the biggest task of the Beast. Can he conquer the streak? So that is going to do it tonight for part 2 of our Ending the Streak series. We'd like to thank everybody for listening. So please join us next week as we discuss the build-up to WrestleMania, talking about how impactful it was to the wrestling business, the shock, the surprise. Should the streak have been defeated? Was the streak supposed to end that night? So I'm going to leave you guys at that. So I'm going to go to our comments section before we head off, and we'll we'll go through responses of a couple of our questions / comments. So I posted in the chat part-time champ. And then, of course, Zach posted participation champion, LOL. Basically, so Roman Reigns nowadays, or I guess you could consider Seth Rollins, because they had to literally make another championship because they can't get the belt off Roman. So Jason Miller says, no part-time champ. I agree. I always hate having a part-time champ. Also ask, since the kind of show's towards the end, Lesnar versus Joe. What do we think about that match? Because that was a triple threat match with Braun, Lesnar, and Joe, correct?
Oh yeah, that was at the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view.
That was a 5-way, I believe.
Yeah,
5-way.
It was a 5-way.
Yeah, because Roman was in it and someone else.
That's right.
Joe and Brock may have had a singles match. I don't know.
I thought it was a 3-way. I know there was a 3-way with Braun and Joe and Brock.
Oh no, it was Great Balls of Fire was a solo match. That 5-way was at I think SummerSlam.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, because there was like 3
right.
different matches I think with those sets.
Yeah. It was Brock Lesnar. That match. It was a quick one. It was 6 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yeah. Jason Miller says it was okay. I'm going to go to Oliver's question here in a second because he asked about an interview. So let us close out. Connor, do you have any announcements to make since he asked about an interview?
I do. We made an announcement last night. And just waiting on the graphic to post it. But it was announced on here last night that the first African-American Intercontinental Champion, Deadman Johnson, will be on here August 2nd an hour before Dynamite. And August 2nd, I picked it on August 2nd for a reason. It's the 200th episode of Dynamite. So I tried to make it a big occasion, I guess, because 200 episodes is a pretty good milestone. It feels that the first episode was just a few days ago of Dynamite. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. 200
Time flies
episodes.
and you're having fun.
So yeah, Deadman Johnson will be on here August 2nd, an hour before Dynamite, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Well, awesome. So you guys heard it here on Talking Elite. We are having, one of the best Intercontinental Champions ever to be on here on August 2nd. So make sure you guys stick to our social medias down below. And also make sure you guys hit the bell and subscribe button down below if you guys haven't already. Make sure you guys stay up to date with the All Elite Zone podcast. We are kicking butt right now. Connor, how many viewership and how many subscribers do we have currently?
359.
Sweet. Well, we are trying to get to 500 by the time the year is done. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, share with your friends. Talking Elite is designed for you guys as fans to talk with fans, as you guys are a huge part of the show as well. So we'd like to thank all of our listeners for listening. So make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at All Elite Zone 1. Follow us on Facebook at All Elite Zone. Follow us on Spotify and Podbean. Make sure you guys go back, listen to our archive, because we got a lot of great episodes. Connor has been working his butt off trying to get everything going on. Don't forget, we are Josh. Thank you for bringing it up. Josh is so excited for AZ Canada to be happening. So we are having an expansion to our friends up north. So that'll be happening here shortly. We're just waiting on the exact date, and we will let you guys know. So we'd like to thank you guys all again for listening. Also, a big thank you to the AZ family. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Zach. And thank you, Adam. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for making Talking Elite very special and one of my favorite parts about, the end of the week. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to all the fans. And if we have nothing else to say, thank you guys. Good night, Adam, and sign us off.
Good. Thank you and good night.